WIFO-FM in Jessup, Big Dog Country Radio, 105.5 FM. It is now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by First Southern Bank. Also brought to you by Van's Barbecue, Murphy Builder Supply, and O'Quinn & Associates.
Hi, I'm Raymond Brown.
And I'm Mandy Yeomans. At First Southern Bank, our customers are like family. As a locally owned community bank, we're dedicated to helping our clients succeed.
We have loans for every need, whether it's personal or business. We have lines of credit, auto loans, equipment loans, and of course, we offer mortgages. Stop by our bank or call us at 912-588-1010 and see how First Southern Bank can help you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When it comes to barbecue, Van's Barbecue in Jessup is the place to be. A small family-owned business located at 1876 on the Savannah Highway. Van's Barbecue has lunch and dinner special. Stop by or call to make an order. The number to call, 427-3358. Van's Barbecue's new manager is Sarah Van. Van's Barbecue offers potato salad, coleslaw, baked beans, and don't forget their delicious mac and cheese. Also, check out their shrimp plates, the best in town. Yes, when it comes to barbecue, head to Van's Barbecue, locally owned and operated. Stop by and tell them the Big Dog sent you. Once again, the number to order, 427-3358.
Since 1946, Murphy's Builder Supply has been serving the folks of Jessup, Wayne, and surrounding counties with quality products and knowledgeable service. Matter of fact, they feel they sell service first to make sure you get exactly what you need for your home improvement projects. And with each employee at Murphy's being there for 10 years or more, you know you're talking with someone with the experience to help you with building supplies, tools, paint, and all the things you need from a full-service hardware store. The best choice in home improvement is Murphy's Builder Supply, 156 Northeast Broad Street, Jessup.
Are you looking for an insurance company that you can call and talk to a live person? Are you looking for an insurance company where you can walk in and talk to an agent? Are you looking for an insurance company that offers multiple companies so they can try and get you the best rate? If you said yes to any of these, then you need to call or come by O'Quinn & Associates Insurance Financial Services. We offer multiple companies so we can find the best fit for you. Give us a call at 385-1000 or stop by our office at 212 South First Street right here in Jessup.
The following is an exclusive presentation of Jessup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
World-famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jessup, Big Dog Country Radio. And Bob, how you doing this morning?
Doing good.
We ought to be on cloud nine. Wayne County wins, Georgia wins, Southern wins. I mean, let me tell you.
Tech lost. I don't think it could have been better if Florida lost, but it was a great weekend. I told you Georgia would roll Oregon.
Yes, you did. You said they would not even be close. They would roll, and just it was duck hunting season in Atlanta on Saturday night. I mean, there were so many ducks shot down there. We bagged way more than our limit, but who cares?
I can't believe I thought Bo Nix was going to hang close with Georgia, whatever. He's awful.
Now, who's Bo?
He's the quarterback of Auburn that transferred to Oregon.
Oh, okay. He's the.
And Georgia's already 3-0 against him. Now they're 4-0 against him. So
okay.
I mean, but Oregon had to. I mean, it was an impressive performance. 6 straight drives for touchdowns. I mean, it's amazing. Before the season began, if you bet on Stetson to win the Heisman, it was 101 odds in Vegas. After Saturday, Vegas says we better drop that to 20-1.
Yeah, the MVP of the title game, and still. MVP, he still gets no respect.
MVP of that game. I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. MVP.
I think I like that he plays it with a chip on his shoulder. He just laughs at all those people. But
oh yeah,
I thought Sean McDonough had the best line of the broadcast. He said anybody who states that Georgia won the national championship in spite of Stetson Bennett need to get a life. That this kid can play. Just continues to make
Kirby
plays.
wouldn't have him starting if he couldn't play.
Kirby's not dumb. I mean,
Kirby's gonna put the best quarterback.
Like I said. They're just laughing. They just laugh at all the critics. But it was a great performance. Rolled 49.
But you think that would be just a real good, feel-good story.
You think
from
people,
nothing to the top of the world, from the valley to the mountaintop.
You think they'd embrace it.
And you think it would just be one of them feel-good, made-for-TV type of stories, but still got critics. I don't understand these people out there. What are they?
It just drives them crazy. They can't stand that a walk-on quarterback's a starting quarterback at Georgia and won a national championship.
Why not? That is a great story.
Every time I turn around, he's small, he's short, he's this. And it's a shame he's just so small that he can't play quarterback. Booger McFarland, and then Booger McFarland still. I mean, how stupid. Did he watch the same game? They go to the game. They go to the studio after the game. Right. He sits there. We throw for 300-some yards.
Right.
And we're throwing it all over the yard. Georgia just wants to run the football. That's their game plan. Is he watching
What's their game plan again?
This is what he said. He said Georgia just wants to run the football.
Just run the football. We have 300-something.
Yeah. I mean, we threw it all over the yard. I mean, some
people make up their minds.
Some of these people just need to
change
be.
They
need to be taken off the air. Or they need to have their credentials pulled. It's embarrassing. I mean, they're just stupid.
People can't admit they're wrong.
It's just sad.
It's just sad.
It's just sad. He's just laughing all the way to the bank, and Georgia's
$1
laughing.
million worth of laughing.
And Georgia's laughing all the way. Somebody says he's up to $2 million by now. So.
$2 million.
So Georgia's just rolling.
Can I have 3, 4, 4? Can I have 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5?
It's just going to build. She got a great agent. They're just rolling.
Yeah. Well, we wish them the best. Coach Stetson, go.
Laughing all the way to the national championship again. Get ready, Bama. Here we come.
Mailman delivers. Okay. And I guess that was considered somewhat of an upset. Florida State beating LSU. Was that an upset?
I think it was. Florida State looked pretty good, but LSU looked off the bat on special teams. I mean, their special teams. I mean, they're just crushing Kelly for not going for the win. They drove 90 yards. They get within. They said they had all the momentum. Go for the win, but he goes for the tie. And
goes for the tie. And has that block.
So much for that, but I'm not. Like I said, I'm not a big Kelly fan because
I didn't like him.
I didn't like him in Notre Dame. I'm just so glad he's gone. So
speaking of the Irish, they got whipped up on by Ohio State.
They didn't get whipped on. They covered that 17.5 points.
They covered the 17.5. Huh?
They had to lead halftime, for gosh sakes. Had a chance to win the game.
Well, Ohio State wins that game right there, and of course Clemson did what people thought they would do last night, that was just more of a blowout than I thought it was going to be.
It was a close game for a while. They played, but they just made a couple mistakes. The block punt. Special teams played a big role in a lot of
games. Yeah, that's that third part of the game. Sometimes they get overlooked, and it's a big part of it.
Wayne County special teams came through.
They sure did, didn't they? Boy, the punter.
Hampton McElwain had a great day.
Yes,
time and time again, punting deep in their own end, several times out of the end zone, punted that ball out of there.
Sir. He deserved to be the player.
I'm telling you, made Appleton County have to go the distance, and they couldn't get in. But
was that great?
That was unbelievable.
Goal line stands, one there at the end of the game, and one at the halftime, and one at the end of the game.
Commented at the golf course. That's the most exciting 7-0 game anybody's ever seen. I mean, that was a great game.
That was an exciting 7-0 game right there.
You think 7-0, that's a dog, but that was an exciting ball game.
I just like the way that the head football coach from Appleton County, he didn't try to fancy stuff. He didn't try any trick plays. He said, we're going to line up in mano a mano, our men against your men, our strength against your strength, and we're going to see who wins, and we won.
They tried the Tebow dump pass, but Jaw Ross did a great job of patting that down, so that was a heck of a play.
Yeah, on that play. They're talking about the last play.
That was a heck of a play by the defense. I mean, because most times that works because they're just all looking for the run, and they fake it, and they try to dump it over there.
Dump it over the top of the Tebow pass.
Tebow made that famous, but Jaw Ross heads up play, knocked it down, and I mean.
Well, I was really talking about the last play there. That one. Is there a congressman in the house? Come on in. All right, we got Congressman Buddy Carter coming in the front door right here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. And come on in, Buddy. All right, here he comes.
Buddy was there Friday night and Saturday in Atlanta. So
yes, sir. Old Buddy Carter making the football rounds there. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning. How are y'all
doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I hope y'all are.
Yeah, we're good. We're talking about all these big victories by everyone.
Yes, how'd you like that?
Including Georgia Tech?
No, we're not talking about them. We briefly mentioned we're talking about the victories by Wayne County and by Georgia, and Georgia Southern won big. So some big victories there.
Yeah, great weekend in high school football, and as always in South Georgia, it's exciting. And I was honored to flip the coin and did what I could to help Wayne County, although I didn't have much control over. But I thought it was interesting. I had to leave right after I flipped the coin, and as I was leaving, of course, Appling ran back the kickoff,
right?
But it got called back on a penalty,
right?
And then when I saw the final score, it was 7-0. I thought, wow,
Yeah, wow. That made a big difference right there.
It did make a big difference.
There were some very key penalties in that game that stopped drives on both sides. So it was, as Bob mentioned a moment ago, the guys at the golf course were saying that was the most exciting 7-0 ball game they've ever seen because we had that goal line stand at the end of the first half and at the end of the game.
Right.
But we can sit here and talk football all day, Congressman, but we don't get you in the studio very often. So I'm sure Bob's got some questions here for you about what in the world is going on with our president.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important because I've got a call later on this afternoon with some of the officials from South Korea. What has happened here recently when we have passed what the Democrats are calling the Inflation Reduction Act, which I think is actually the Inflation Acceleration Act.
Anytime you spend money, it increases inflation.
It does. And you never increase taxes during a recession, which even Barack Obama said that, but this administration seems to think you do. And they are certainly doing it. And don't forget that they're hiring 87,000 IRS agents. And, oh, by the way, they are not hiring them to make sure you get your refund quicker. They are hiring them to shake down the American public. Exactly. And this president said that there would be no tax increases on anyone making under $400,000 a year. Well, actually, in the Senate, they offered an amendment that said that no one making under $400,000 a year would be audited, and the Democrats rejected that amendment as well. So, it is going to impact people making under $400,000 a year. There's no question about that. But what the South Koreans are interested in and very upset about is the fact that, as you know, they have made a $5.5 billion commitment to build an EV factory in Bryan County in the 1st District up near Richmond Hill. And it will provide 8,100 jobs, and they will manufacture and assemble electric vehicles there. Well, what the Inflation Reduction Act does, unfortunately, is to take away the EV credits, the tax credits, from anyone who is not assembling the EVs in the United States. Now, that kind of makes sense. We want manufacturing to come back to the U.S., and we should be we should be helping those people and rewarding them for building plants in America. But here we have a $5.5 billion investment by South Korea, which is our sixth largest trading partner. And they have an agreement with us. And they're upset because now, in the next 2 years, until they get this plant up and running, they're not going to be able to get the credits. And that's going to hurt their business, but more importantly, it's going to hurt them in building up their reputations for EVs here in America. And there was an exemption made for Canada and for Mexico for any EVs assembled in North America. And really, that exemption should have been extended to our trade partners, to our allies, because not only is South Korea making this investment, and now it's being jeopardized. They're really rethinking this investment now. Can you imagine them pulling out of that? But they're rethinking it because of the fact that they're not going to be able to get those tax credits, because of the fact that they won't have that plant up and running for the next 2 years. Therefore, they won't be able to build up their brand in the United States, and they need to do that. But they're helping us with supply chain issues, we need to rely on our allies to help us with batteries and with other components of EVs, and South Korea does that. So there's a lot of concern there with that. Of course, you got the economy, what's going on with inflation. We continue to see that. Yes, gas prices have gone down some. Thank goodness our governor has suspended the state gas tax, which helps us. And our gas here in Georgia is cheaper than anywhere else in the nation, really, thanks to that. But it's still expensive. I mean, we're supposed to celebrate the fact that we can buy gas for $3 a gallon, and we're supposed to celebrate the fact that inflation's gone down to 8.5%. When this president took office, inflation was at 1.4%. I mean, it's simply ridiculous. And then you talk about the crime in our major cities, and not only in our major cities, but crime in our rural areas as well is a concern. And then the southern border and the disaster that exists there. people just flocking across that border, and not only the illegal immigrants, but also the fentanyl that is infesting our communities, including our rural communities, and causing crime and causing addiction, causing overdose. We had over 107,000 overdose deaths last year in this country, the most ever, much of it as a result of fentanyl. So, those are the issues that I'm hearing people talk about when I'm going through the 1st District. And we've been in the district all during the month of August, and people are upset. They're concerned. Right? They're wondering how they're going to be able to afford groceries. They're wondering how they're going to be able to afford gas. Have people calling me in my office, I can't afford gas to get to work, but I can't afford not to go to work. What am I going to do? And our ag community, which is such an important part of our district and such an important part of our country, because American farmer feeds the world, and we know that. But we've had calls from the ag community telling us, I can't afford fertilizer. And diesel fuel is twice as much as it was last year, and I'm not going to be able to plant a crop this year. And then if you've been to the grocery store, and I know we all have, you know that groceries have skyrocketed. It's just unbelievable.
I was going to ask you if there's any good news.
Well, the good news is we've got elections coming up, and
I'm still upset about the loan payment. The college loan. I want to know if I get my refund.
Well,
what if you went to trade? I mean, this it looks to me like it's opened up a can of worms. Actually, you made a good comment when I interviewed you when you were here before.
Right.
On the phone, I think it was on the phone. You said we're all paying back college debt.
Yeah, we'll all be paying it back. They don't pay it. We do.
$350 billion. I mean, somebody's going to have to pick up that tab.
Absolutely. The definition of free is there's not free in this case is taxpayers. That's who's paying this bill. There's no such thing as free lunch, and we all know that, and that's why it's important for us to keep in mind that before this was done, 87% of all Americans had no college debt. Now all of us do. All of us have college debt. And
all of us have got to pay off that debt. Did he have the power to do that?
Well, that's a good question. I appreciate you asking that.
How can that happen?
That is a good question. Even Nancy Pelosi, our current speaker, has indicated that she didn't believe he had the power to do that, and we are challenging that in court. The problem is going to be how do you overturn it, or how do you undo it once he's done it? That's going to be a big problem. But it has been questioned whether he has that authority by executive order to do that, and we are challenging it. And that brings up a bigger point that is very important to me as a member of Congress and should be important to all of us, and that is that over the years, and I'm talking both Republicans and Democrats, we have conceded too much authority to the executive branch. We've given the president too much authority, and we need to reclaim some of that authority back to the legislative branch, back to Congress. We're supposed to be in charge of the budget. We're supposed to be in charge of spending. And yet this administration and previous administrations, to be quite honest with you.
It seemed like Obama was always signing executive orders.
Exactly. And Republican or Democrat, this is something that needs to be done. Everybody was upset about earmarks, and with good reason. They were being abused. There was no question about that. The bridge to nowhere, all the other examples that you can note about waste and spending with earmarks. But at the same time, what we did essentially when we did away with the earmarks, or what they did, and I wasn't in Congress at that time, is to concede that authority to the executive branch. Now, I would submit to you, who knows more about projects in the 1st Congressional District than I do, than in Washington, D.C.? Who knows more than your representative about projects in your district and what needs to be done? Certainly not someone at the White House. They don't know as much as what your representative knows. So we have reinstated directed congressional spending. It's not earmarks. It's called directed congressional spending. And it has been reinstated, and quite honestly, I think it's a good thing. We need to have checks and balances on it. We don't need to let it get to the point where it got before, where it was being abused. But at the same time, we need to have more authority in the legislative branch, regardless of whether it's Republican or Democrat. That authority needs to be taken back.
And just joining us, we've got Congressman Buddy Carter in the studio running for re-election. I saw, the war in Ukraine continues. I saw where they just approved another, $4.2 billion, or it might be 4 times. I just know it's billions. I mean, this thing's getting pretty expensive.
It's getting very
I thought
expensive.
We were in debt. I thought where's all this money coming from?
Well, that's a good question, and we are in debt to the tune of over $30 trillion, which we'll talk about hopefully in just a second. But nevertheless, the next couple of months in Ukraine and in that war are going to be very important, because keep in mind that area of the world, when winter comes, it shuts down, and they're not going to be able to fight the way they are now. Ukraine has initiated an advance in the southern region to take back some more of some of their land that Russia had overtaken. Russia, of course, is fighting back on that, trying to maintain the control over that land. As we all know, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe, and for those of you who've been to Europe before, you know that if you don't eat bread in Europe, you starve. I mean, it is they eat a lot of bread over in Europe, but it is the breadbasket of the world, to be quite honest with you, and that's something that we've got to be very concerned about. Another point that I think is important to make is that, look, Russia is nothing more than a gas station masquerading as a country. That if it weren't for oil and gas, Russia wouldn't be anything. But they do control oil and gas. Now, what's going to happen this winter in Europe because of their reliance on Russia for energy, it's going to be very concerning. They're going to really suffer, and Russia is playing hardball with this, because they are upset about the sanctions that the United States and our allies have put on them as a result of their unprovoked aggression into Ukraine. But at the same time, they are going to fight back by withholding oil and gas from Europe, and that's going to cause a big problem in Europe as we enter this winter time.
But that also cut down on Russia's income tremendously also, so everybody suffers.
Well, that's true to a certain extent. Unfortunately, one thing that has happened has been, and this is very alarming to me and to a lot of people in Washington, D.C., is the fact that China has started buying more oil and gas from Russia.
Okay, and I heard today on Fox News that Russia has contacted its ally of North Korea to buy arms. Who would have thought that Russia would be buying arms from North Korea? Usually Russia's selling to them.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head here. What the concern is yes, we're concerned about Ukraine, we're concerned about Russia, but I think the biggest concern is, what about North Korea? What about Iran? What about China? They're watching this. And they, as soon as this comes to some kind of fruition, then in ending, then they're probably going to make their moves. And in the case of China, it's probably going to involve Taiwan. And we've got to be very concerned about that.
I wonder if all of this would have happened if we had not have pulled out of Afghanistan like we did, and then we set the tone for this next year. We always see this through history. When a country looks like it becomes weak, especially a big power, other ones start pushing the envelope. They are trying to move in.
That's exactly right.
And we talked about this last August when all this happened.
Sure.
What's going to happen this next year? Who's going to challenge us? It always seems to happen.
That's right. That's why you have to lead from the front, and this administration has been leading from the back. And I think I may have shared with you before, but I was on a talk show with, and it was a far right station. But anyway, I was talking to someone, and they were saying, "Well, this would have never happened if Donald Trump were in office, because they never knew what he was going to do." And then they paused for just a second and said, "Heck, we never knew what he was going to do." And it was somewhat true, but to the extent that it didn't happen during the Trump administration, and that's why you have to lead from the front, and you have to lead with power. And that's what this administration has not done at all.
Over the weekend, the big concern is China. They say China's really building up their military, just like Russia did before they invaded Ukraine. So, I mean, you said it months ago, maybe a year ago. You still feel that China's going to invade Taiwan.
I do. And, we have identified the top two threats to our country. The top two concerns in our country is being China and our debt. And China is certainly something that we've got to be concerned about, because there's no question about it. Their intent is to become the economic leader in this world and to overtake us in that position. And if we continue on the route that we're on now, particularly with our debt, that's going to happen. And we cannot allow them to overtake Taiwan for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that we are the leader in democracy in the world, and we have to look out for other democracies like Taiwan. If we allow that to happen, that sets the tone, that sends a message that we're just going to let it happen anywhere in the world. So we can't do it from that perspective. Also, we have to keep in mind the assets that Taiwan has, particularly the advanced microchips that they have. Over 90% of the advanced microchips. Now, I'm not talking about regular microchips that are used in trucks and cars, which are important, and most of those are made in the United States. But the advanced microchips that are used in our weapons and our defense and in computers, those are made in Taiwan. If China overtakes that, then that asset alone is enough for us to be concerned about.
And we sit there and still buy trillions of dollars worth of products from China every single year.
Absolutely. We just cannot control ourselves, and we're all guilty of it. We go to the appliance store. If the toaster is $5 cheaper and it's made in China, we buy the toaster. And
if it says USA, if it's within reason, yeah. Because I just. We support their economy. Why do, and you think about this right here in today's modern age with Russia and with China, and you think about the United States, we've got enough trouble. Each country's got enough things going on in their own country to concentrate on to betterment of their own citizens. Why do these countries want to expand like this? Why do they want to take over stuff? Russia over Ukraine and China over, and Taiwan and Ukraine will be just the stepping stones to other things. We all know that for these two countries. Why do they want to do that? Why can't they just be content on leading their own countries and making things better for their own citizens?
Well, I think that's been the case throughout history.
Yeah, I know it's been through history. We're thinking in today's modern age,
Yeah, it is. But in the case of China, they've always made it clear. If you've ever read that book, The 100-Year Marathon, they've made it clear that's their intent is to take over. And with Xi Jinping in power, and he looks like he's going to stay in power, and I suspect he will, then there's no question about what their intentions are, and that is to become the economic leader. And as you travel throughout the world, you see more and more of it. China investing in infrastructure in third world countries and really tying them up, if you will, in the sense that now they are obligated to them. That's of concern too, and the United States is not doing that as much as we had in the past.
You talked about the EV factory from South Korea up in Bryan County supposedly being built, but the tax credits on the EVs are, with this last bill that went through there. Did our two senators talk to Biden about this and say, hey, it's going to hurt our state?
I don't know the direct answer to that, but from what I understand, talking to some of the authorities, that did not happen. So
okay,
but I
can't
say
express their concerns. Okay,
well,
we don't know.
I can't say.
You can't say for sure. Okay, I was just wondering if they were looking out for the interest of the home folks here.
Sure, and look, we've got to look out for that. That is potentially one of the biggest, if not the biggest, economic development.
No matter what party you are, you got to look out for your home folks.
Sure.
Yeah. Bob?
Again, this election year 2022, the 3-week early voting period gets underway October 17th, so it's right around the corner. You're in a race with your Democratic opponent. Any debates set up or anything, or what are we?
We have agreed to a debate in Savannah with WTOC with that channel. That's the only one that I'm aware of right now. Certainly, we want to have one in the southern part of the district as well, perhaps in Brunswick or somewhere in that area. And then if there's one in Atlanta, Atlanta Public Broadcasting, the Georgia Public Broadcasting, I should say, they often put one together. So that would be 3 that we'd look at.
Right. Okay. So again, is election. The early voting gets underway. So, like I said, you've been traveling the district. You mentioned what the people vote. What's the reaction from most people when you see them? Are they upset?
Well, they are. They're very upset. They're particularly upset with this administration, with the fact that, and small businesses trying to find help, and labor continues to be a problem. We, of course, live on the coast. Tourism is a big part of our economy. And, of course, tourism is a very service-oriented business. You need people. And our service industry is suffering because they don't have the manpower. They don't have the workers there. So that's a big concern. The economy, crime, the southern border, all of those things remain on the top of the list for people as we go throughout the district.
Well, you mentioned about crime in rural areas. Beginning with tonight's Jessup City Council meeting, they're going to start requiring folks to go through a metal detector. That hasn't happened before for city council meetings here in the city of Jessup. Wow,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is, unfortunately, I think a sign of the times, and that's sad.
Well, buddy, what's going on good with your life?
Well,
let's end on a positive note.
We want to end on a positive note because we do. We live in the greatest country in the world. You hear about people trying to break into this country, but you don't hear about anybody trying to break out. And, I still remain optimistic. We had a Service Academy fair on Friday afternoon of last week for students who are interested in going to our service academies, and they are so impressive. And that's what gives me hope. I consistently say that you can call me naive if you want, but I believe our greatest times are still ahead of us. I know it's hard to believe. I know people think back, how in the world can you say that after all we've been through, World War II, after all we've achieved in the Industrial Revolution, that our greatest times are ahead of us? I still believe they are here in the United States, and it's because of our young people. I just see so many fine young people out there, and it just gives me hope.
Is somebody in this room having a birthday today?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, boy. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Congressman Carter.
I appreciate you coming in the studio.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We've had you on the phone several times. It's been a while since we have had you in the studio. It's good to have you back in here, buddy.
Thank y'all.
All right. Take care. Bob, we're through. All right. We're out of time. All right. Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jessup. The world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by First Southern Bank. Also brought to you by Van's Barbecue, Murphy Builder Supply, and by Oak Quinn & Associates.